Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I begin with a quote. I'm his lawyer. I'm his lawyer, is what Todd Blanche said in the course of his confirmation hearing before the Judiciary Committee of the United States Senate. I'm his lawyer, meaning I'm Donald Trump's lawyer. Now, admittedly, he had no intention of saying it that way. He had no intention of allowing that revelation to slip, but it was a glaring illustration of his mindset. He was, he is now, and he will be Donald Trump's lawyer, his personal lawyer, as he was during criminal and civil trials, a trusted, loyal consigliere. He's not an independent lawyer with a law firm. He is in-house. He is literally kept by the president on his personal leash. You may think I'm overstating it, but in fact, he demonstrated throughout that hearing, and the through line was, he will be guided by blind loyalty to the president and contempt for the law, enabling the president in continued corrupt crypto schemes, as well as condoning and empowering the president to establish a slush fund for January 6th rioters, as well as tax immunity, even though purportedly those agreements were limited. He will enable the president to circumvent these so-called agreements, which are a sham. They are a fraud on the United States Senate, just as Todd Blanche committed a fraud on the Florida United States District Court that referred him to the New York Bar for investigation in connection with that wrongdoing. Maya Angelou famously said, quote, "When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time," end quote. And Todd Blanche has shown us repeatedly who he is, who his boss is, and whose loyalty he will hold uppermost. You know, I was United States Attorney in Connecticut for 4.5 years, part of the Department of Justice, which I revered, more than just respected, in fact, revered, because it epitomized what lawyers should be in upholding the highest standards of ethics and morality. Even when we made an error, we were supposed to state it, in effect, acknowledge it before the court. I will never forget the first time I appeared before a United States District Court judge in Connecticut, a former federal prosecutor himself, and he asked me, "Who do you work for?" And I said, "The government." He said, "No, you work for and you represent the United States of America." Think of it for a moment. Walking into a courtroom representing the United States of America, sworn to uphold the Constitution, not any president, not a legislature, the United States of America. That is not what Todd Blanche has done as a Justice Department official under Donald Trump. It is not what he will do, as he showed clearly. Nothing epitomizes it better than the answer he gave at one point when he referred to the attack on the Capitol that occurred on January 6, 2021. We all remember it. We went through it. We saw it, the attack on the Capitol, which injured and contributed to deaths of our Capitol Police. He referred to it as, quote unquote, events. He couldn't bring himself to refer to it as an attack, as it clearly was, because Donald Trump will not allow any of his nominees to refer to the January 6th riot and insurrection as an attack on the Capitol. It was an attack designed to prevent the lawful and peaceful transition of power. And to call it anything else is disrespectful to the brave Capitol Police who defended us that day, and disqualifying for a judicial nominee and for any position of trust in the United States government. Earlier today, I participated in a press conference with some of the prosecutors, the career prosecutors who pursued convictions of those rioters for the serious violations of federal law that they incurred. They made the point that the failure to acknowledge an attack on the Capitol, or that President Biden won the 2020 election, shows a lack of independence that should be disqualifying. They have submitted a letter to all of us here. I ask that it be made a part of the record.
Without objection.
Because they make the point that these statements by nominees for executive office or for judgeships, in effect, perpetuate the big lie. Election deniers have no place on the bench or in the Department of Justice. And in fact, in response to my submitted questions relating to the 2020 election, Todd Blanche refused to state that Joe Biden won the 2020 election. And he stood by his prior statements, perpetuating the big lie. The through line here is, whatever Donald Trump says, Todd Blanche does. He will do anything, say anything, conceal anything that serves Donald Trump's interests.